Hallo mensen en welkom terug bij een nieuwe aflevering van mij. Ditmaal is het weer Call of Duty is nog wat en dit keer doe ik non-stop, althans non-stop, gewoon deze video ga ik...
See, back then, I had a stubborn streak a mile wide, and I wasn't about to back down.
So it was like pitch black in there?
Actually, it was pretty well lit, as they had torches on the walls.
Maar ik ga deze aflevering uitspelen.
How big was this cave?
Big as hell, Ben. Chiricahua had hid out there during the Indian Wars. They thought it was haunted with the ghosts of those murdered by the horse soldiers.
The cave was haunted with dead Indian ghosts?
To be honest, I was more concerned with the live ones than the dead ones.
How come you know so much about engines?
A few years back, I was married to two Mescalero women.
At the same time?
Yeah, they were sisters. Polygyny is traditional among the Mescalero.
So what happened?
Oh, I had to get out of there. Those girls never shut up. I came upon this flooded grotto, and that's when I saw him. He came to me unarmed and unafraid. His voice echoed in the shadows. And I sensed he meant me no harm.
You carry great darkness in your heart, and if you do not release it, it will claim your soul.
The sound of his voice put some kind of ancient Indian spell on me. As his story unfolded in my mind,
You will come to this place again and kill many more men, and the darkness will grow until it consumes everything that you are. The soul will have no rainbow, the eye have no tears.
he said I was a great warrior, a coyote man, unequaled by any other pale-faced warrior, or something like that.
The snakes will bite shadows of your past until a venom poisons your heart, and an echo of the song of the dead summons the spirits deep from within the mountains.
I didn't quite get what he was saying, but there was definitely snakes. And indeed, his warriors surrounded me and attacked me like hungry wolverines. They couldn't stop me, though, and Grey Wolf wasn't in the mood for idle talk. I swear I couldn't see any way out of this trap. But suddenly, one just appeared. Kind of like a miracle. I felt like I would be lost in that damn cave forever. Finally, I found myself back outside, perched on the edge of a precipice overlooking a thundering whitewater river. To get where I was going required several leaps of faith, but no way in hell I was turning back. I chased after him, determined to make him explain the meaning of all that mumbo-jumbo.
Mumbo-jumbo's right. Are you making this all up as you go?
A few details may be fuzzy, brother, but I am relating exactly what happened to me. There were dozens of Apache warriors aiming at me from on high.
Dozens?
Well, maybe not dozens, but there was a lot of them.
At least 3 or 4.
Well, more than that, little lady.
Nah.
I had a steep climb up creek ahead of me and scrambled up those rocks like a mountain goat. I was determined to locate Grey Wolf and find out exactly what the hell he was trying to tell me. And wouldn't you know it, that crafty son of a bitch led me right into a trap.
What kind of trap?
Well, son, there had to be at least 100 Apaches surrounding me.
100?
God be my witness.
Oh, come on. Who you kidding?
Hey, I believe you. Come on, tell us how it ended.
All right, but I'm not gonna drag this out. Where were we?
You were surrounded by 100 Apache warriors.
Well, I didn't take the time to count them exactly, but there were a lot of them.
60. Oh, werkt wel. Ja. Oeh. 260. Zo, dat is wel raar.
And in the end, a path appeared before me that I had not seen before. I followed it as I desperately needed to find out what Grey Wolf was trying to tell me. But it was like that son of a bitch disappeared into thin air. Never did find him. And never did collect my goddamn bounty.
Nah. Laat me even verrekken. Lekker. Moet eens even uitrekken. Enter. Dat wij gewoon deze aflevering echt gewoon uitspelen.
Thank you, darling. It's interesting how the truth can sometimes seem might malleable, depending upon your point of view.
Like how those dime novels make you out to be something you're not?
Jack, don't be starting trouble.
No, he's right. They do tend to exaggerate.
Did they exaggerate your part in taking down the Daltons?
Well, I was there in the flesh, boy, so I saw what happened firsthand.
Episode 6.
Those Daltons were lawmen once, before they all went bad, robbing banks and trains clear across the territory. Until Coffeeville, of course. I was one of the citizens who took up arms that day.
Fighting on the side of right.
I did my best, sir. We all did.
En daar begon het vanaf in episode 6. Take on me, bounty hunter. A bounty hunter. In konijnen, ja. Geld en geen idee wat er staat. Maar
It was early morning. One of my friends was a local gunsmith, and he handed out firearms to anybody who'd take one. You see, the Daltons got it in their heads to rob 2 banks at the same time. 2 banks on the same damn street. The story was Bob Dalton's girl was always writing him about how he had no ambition. Oh, you're nobody next to Jesse James, she'd say. Finally, the bastard took his brothers to Coffeeville just to shut her up.
Hey,
Well, the locals recognized the Daltons right off. Before they could get away, half the town took up arms to defend their property. The brothers paid dearly for their stupidity, but everybody knows They had it coming.
There's more to it than that. I read all about that day, so I know for a fact that it went down very differently. First of all, it was high noon. A posse of U.S. deputy marshals were on the rooftop across the street.
Get ready, boys. They're gonna make a move.
The lawmen had been tracking the Daltons for months. Now they finally had them dead to rights. Among them was a bounty hunter feared by many a lawbreaker. The marshals tried to get the Daltons to surrender.
They'll give up eventually. We just gotta wait the son of the bitches out.
This bounty hunter knew that the brothers were far too proud to ever lay down their guns. He went in there alone to confront those criminals. One of the marshals shouted, "Where are you going? Are you crazy?"
Hey, where do you think you're going, dumbass? That rifle's mine.
He saw a way to get around to the back of the bank. Then he figured out how to hit the Daltons from a direction they weren't expecting. From above. Fortunately, a water tower was right there. A moment later, he was climbing up a steep ladder, laughing at danger as he did. It was brave men like him who risked their lives to tame this wild country.
We've got company!
Heroic men like him, who did what other men couldn't or wouldn't to make this country free. Like Jim
Is that
Boone,
Silas
Davy
Greaves?
Crockett,
Son of a
died in
bitch!
the Alamo.
Come on! Kill him! Over there!
House! Nee, waarom niet? Oh hier.
Over there! That's Silas Greaves! What the hell?
Blam! Blam! He came away victorious, taking down those thieving Daltons. His name was Silas Greaves, and when the dust finally settled, he was the last man standing.
Sorry, kid, but that just wasn't the way it happened. It was early evening, not high noon. The Daltons blew up a safe, and were all set to hightail it out of there. Those pathetic deputies surrounding the bank were dropping like flies.
That's it for you!
I had been tracking those jokers for months, waiting for them to do something reckless. And finally, they did. Those stupid bastards decided to rob two banks at the same time in the same town where everybody knew them. But they still had friends in Coffeyville.
Oh, so you're hiding too now? What are you gonna do? You're gonna need a cannon! Shoot, I dare you! Hey, we got us an earring! Put some holes in them!
And those friends came after me like a pack of wild dogs, tooth and nail. They were coming at me from all directions. I caught sight of the Daltons running with the money and didn't want to lose
Get those boys.
Problem was, they knew the town better than I
getting
did.
away with this.
And to top it off,
We gotta
I
get
found
out of
myself in the
here.
middle of
They know who
another
we are.
shootout entirely.
Stupid idea
Did the
was
Daltons
this?
hole up in somebody's house?
No, it was the Smiths, I believe. They were cousins of the Daltons, and they were shooting at the Browns, who were shooting at the Daltons. Which wasn't any surprise, because those two families have been feuding forever. And since the Joneses are related to the Browns, they shot at the Smiths, pissing off the Heimhoffers, whose daughter recently married a Smith. Well, bullets were flying every which way as all the old feuds in Kansas caught fire all at once. There was a hell of a lot of pissed off people in Coffeyville that day. But that's just the way life is sometimes. Shit happens. The Dalton boys knew I would never give up. Those Daltons weren't the sharpest knives in the drawer, but they always stood together. They set a trap to slow me down and allow at least two of them to escape. The third brother stayed behind to plan me, just in case that trap of theirs didn't work. It was Emmett, the youngest, and he decided to stand his ground and face me down.
I ain't afraid of you, Silas Greaves. This is where it ends for you.
He was determined to protect his brothers. I understood how he felt. Taking me on all by his lonesome wasn't exactly a recipe for a long life.
You are dead, law dog! I'll blow your damn head clean off! God damn, that was loud. I'm gonna cut you in half! Is that all you got?
But Emmett Dalton survived the robbery in Coffeyville. He's the only Dalton who did.
They say he was shot 23 times.
Well, Dwight, who do you think put all those damn holes in him? But I have to admit, that boy had grit.
Ik heb trouwens elke skill, dus. Bounty hunters steal my name. Oh, ik moet er op in te drukken.
We'll get those suckers!
It took me a couple of days to track the Daltons down.
They can't get away with this!
And in that time, a whole posse of local vigilantes offered to lend a hand.
We'll track him to the ends of the earth.
They seemed as determined as me to find those outlaws. But as we headed into those swamps, it was like I had my own private army. There was no way those boys were getting away this time.
It was early fall, right? Beautiful time of year. At least you had the weather on your side.
Not by my recollection. It was damp and foggy as hell. It was tough to stay on a true course. So we kept an eye out for landmarks. It was autumn. The maple trees were in full color. Red as blood. The rains that year were torrential, so the whole area was flooded. The vigilantes had spread out wide, and pretty soon I couldn't see anybody.
Bury them in the swamp! Let them where they stand!
Except for some bitches ahead of me wanting to do me harm. So I had to face them alone. I wondered why my compatriots didn't come running when they heard the shots.
So did you find the Daltons?
Not yet, but I did have the questionable pleasure of meeting a few of their friends. The boys had established quite a reputation by that time, so they attracted all manner of riffraff to their cause. Point being, I was under serious attack.
for a belly full of buckshot. Next week, boy. Still standing.
And my reinforcements was nowhere to be seen.
Bury him in the swamp.
Damn ears are ringing. Son of a bitch!
Well, luckily, a barn materialized as if right before my eyes. I scrambled up top to get a better view, but just ended up falling inside.
So, how did you get out?
The barn doors was open. About right then, I saw some suspicious characters running for the bushes. Of course, I followed them. But that goddamn swamp was like a goddamn maze, and pretty soon I had no goddamn idea where I was. Steve? Steve? Steve!
Huh? Oh, no, I'm listening.
Indians surrounded me from all sides.
There were Indians.
No. I just wanted to make sure Steve was paying attention. Now, where was I?
You were following the Daltons through a swamp?
That's right. See, Steve? Dwight's paying attention.
No, I'm listening. I was just resting my eyes.
So, where was I?
The Daltons.
Right. See, there's a reason so many outlaw gangs are made up of brothers. Being a brother is a very sacred thing. It's a bond like no other.
Bounty hunters! Stop that, son of a bitch! There he is!
So did you ever find the damn Daltons?
Not yet. But I did find a few of their cousins. You Kansans breed like rabbits. More Smiths or Heimhoffers or who knows what. But hell, what's more important than family? I bet Ben knows what I'm talking about.
I think we're in trouble.
There he is! Hey, how's it coming? Got it! Show yourself! I'm ending you! Man, he can shoot. Gotta give him that. Oh, he's hurt now! Blew out my damn eardrums! Dynamite for assholes who can't shoot! I just really liver bitch. That's a pain. You must like this. Sorry, son of a bitch!
I I knew those Dalton boys were out there somewhere, standing together against anyone who would threaten them. That's when I saw it. A goddamn steamboat.
A steamboat? In a swamp?
Yeah, Steve, but this wasn't much more than a wreck, really.
But how'd a damn steamboat end up in the swamps?
Yes, it floated off during the flood of '89.
Now, was it a stern-wheeler or a side-wheeler?
What? Does that really make a difference, Steve? It was a steamboat, with a goddamn army on board.
Dat vind ik zo prachtig.
It was then that a fusillade of bullets come raining down from on high.
Is that Silas Greaves?
And those vigilantes who accompanied me weren't anywhere to be found. But among those men that were shooting at me...
Ik zeg, ze moeten zeker doodgaan in deze lange ding. Wacht even, een test. Soms test. Ja, oké. Alles is erg.
But among those men that were shooting at me, I thought I saw some familiar faces. Somewhere up there, the Daltons were waiting on me.
You rue the day.
Sounds like you don't give up too easy.
That's the kind of man I am, Ben. I set out to do something. I do it. Surrender just ain't in my nature. Plus, I'm stubborn as hell. Right about then, much to my relief, the vigilantes finally arrived. Their leader motioned at a cabin in the middle of the top deck, pointing me directly at the Daltons. I finally had them, after months of dogged pursuit. But it turned out that they had me.
Take him out! I'm sending you to hell!
The Daltons had played me like a fiddle.
After all, is he?
Apparently, the vigilantes were on their damn payroll. They didn't just want to shoot me. They wanted to burn me alive. But finding my way out of a burning labyrinth proved to be quite a challenge.
It was a riverboat, right? I mean, it's not like it was a goddamn ocean liner.
Well, yeah, but I was in a
Did you
fight.
hear about that ship that's gonna launch next year? Largest one in the world.
You're
what
talking about the Titanic. If you ask me, it's too blessed big. I don't think it'll even float.
So anyway...
Don't be stupid, Steve. They know what they're doing. They say that the Titanic is unsinkable.
Oh, God.
But getting back to that steamboat, how'd you get off it, Mr. Greaves?
I took in a lot of smoke that day, so I admit my recollection might be a bit hazy. But somehow I managed to finally disembark. I was coughing up smoke and pretty damn pissed. I was done playing games with those boys. It was time to settle this once and for all.
Someone kill that bastard! I see him! Will somebody drop him? Hell, that's crazy! This guy's plumb loco! Damn, that's crazy! Nobody can do that!
Bob and Grat weren't about to come at me one at a time. They were in this together. Two brothers side by side, determined to take me down. Confident that this time the odds were on their side. They got it wrong. A sad end for those two. If they'd only known that Emmett was still alive despite his wounds. Paroled 14 years later, he moved to California and sold real estate and lived off the legend of that fateful day. And the tragic death of his two brothers.
Sad.
My own brothers died tragically as well, truth be told. It was 1868, and me and my older brothers were pulling a tidy profit running cattle into Juarez, Mexico. One night after my brothers retired for the evening, I found a little poker game in a cantina with a couple of cowboys. And I just couldn't lose. I even won an old Spanish coin that had to be 100 years old. Well, I was mighty pleased with myself the next morning as my brothers and I rode for Texas. But before we crossed the border, those cowboys caught up with us. It was Johnny Ringo, Roscoe Bob Bryant, and another asshole named Jim. They wanted their money back and everything else we had, including our lives, as those boys didn't want us coming for them later. Bob put that old Spanish coin in my mouth and said, "I won't have it said that I left you with nothing, boy." Well, those horses bolted, and there we hung as those bastards rode away. The branch finally snapped under the weight of the three of us, but being my older brothers were bigger and heavier, they were already dead. And right then I swore to myself that I would avenge them. Ringo you know about. But Bob eluded me, until I heard he was riding with the Wild Bunch.
Sad.
I'd been on their trail for months, ever since they left their hideout in the Bighorn Mountains. Led by Butch Cassidy, they were a loose association of outlaws who robbed banks and trains from Colorado to Montana. Among them was the Sundance Kid, and that murderous hombre I was tracking, Roscoe Bob Bryant.
Were you a part of that giant Pinkerton posse after the Wild Bunch?
No, boy. A circus like that would have slowed me down. Besides, I wanted Bryant all to myself. I'd heard about a large shipment of gold being transported to Wilcox, Wyoming on the Overland Flyer. They blew the bridge with the intention of forcing the train to stop. I was determined to make that sumbitch Bob pay for what he did to my brothers.
My ears are still ringing from blowing up that bridge.
What'd you say? I can't hear a goddamn thing.
Well, I made my way off unscathed and came upon a few members of the gang and had no choice but to dispatch
Silas
them.
Greaves! What the
From there, I had to
hell?
negotiate an even more precarious route. But first, I would need to get my ass out of there. I jumped from the frying pan into the fire as the train was clearly fixing to fall. I had found the gang, but in order to find old Bob, I needed to fight my way forward past a whole passel of desperados. Outside, inside, any way I could, I made my way towards my prey.
Well, what about the passengers?
It was mostly a freight train, as I recall. There were no passengers aboard that day. As I mentioned before, I am not fond of heights, but I was too busy dodging bullets to worry about falling to my death. Odds were I was likely to die that day anyway, so I was determined to take down as many of those bastards as I could. At times, it was like shooting ducks in a shooting gallery. The only difference is these damn ducks shot back. I kept hoping the law would show up and give me a hand.
You mean like that giant Pinkerton posse that I read about? Did they come riding in, guns a-blazing to help?
Help? From the Pinkertons? No, son. I had to fight the wild bunch all by my lonesome, as usual.
Who the hell is that? He's out of his mind! Take cover! Retreat! Retreat! He's killing everybody! If I'm going, he'll kill us all! Run! Got an eye, don't I?
My guess is those dime novels didn't portray this as it happened, did they? Only a few stragglers were left, and I had to cut them down pronto if I was going to stay on old Bob's trail.
Merciful Christ! No amount of gold is worth this! Run! If you want to live! Now I'm gonna hurt you. I ain't dead! I'm gonna cut you in two. Hell's a coming. Why won't he die? You ready for a belly full of buckshot?
Once I silenced all those guns, I went searching for my nemesis, determined to finally have my justice. But the only survivor who welcomed me was George Flat-Nosed Curry.
Who was he?
The fastest gun in the gang. Right after Sundance, I mean. And Kid Curry, and maybe Elsie Lay. Though some folks might dispute that. On that very same day, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid decided to leave the Wild Bunch behind and decamped for South America. They ended up living down there for many years, but I'm sure you already know all about that. I tried to find Bob Bryant, but it was as if he'd disappeared. Sometime later, I heard the Wild Bunch was back together. Kid Curry escaped from jail, and now he was running the whole shebang. So I took to their trail, as I was still in pursuit of my brother's killer and hoped that he was back with them.
That Kid Curry's kinda crazy, ain't he?
Don't let him hear you.
Anyways, I tracked those boys to a camp right outside Parachute, Colorado. Being outnumbered, I didn't bother with a warning shot. I just started taking those bastards down. Old Bob wasn't among them, and neither was Kid Curry. I could sense him close by, however, plotting something nasty. I just needed a clue as to their whereabouts. And I found one. A map with their bold plan clearly marked. This time they were fixing to blow up a train trestle. Property of the Union Pacific. The plan clearly indicated how they were fixing to undermine several of the weakest wooden supports. Kid Curry was considered the wildest of the Wild Bunch. It was said that he fathered 85 bastard children, though some say it was only 5. Kid Curry had bragged to a whore how he was going to rob a train heading to the U.S. Mint in Denver. And that whore, Fat Sally, she told me. The bridge was rigged with dynamite, so I decided I'd best be careful confronting those bastards. A moment later, I saw a ladder that somehow had escaped my attention.
Don't you blow us up now.
Don't worry, I know what I'm doing.
God damn it! What the hell?
It appeared the kid had found a number of new recruits to bolster their ranks. But the Wild Bunch did not take kindly to my presence and attempted to blow my head off. Guess there's always desperate men willing to trade their lives for stolen treasure.
What happened next?
Well, having removed the first bundle of dynamite, I decided I might as well remove the other one. Once that was done, I figured I'd find my way from there.
So do you.
That was too damn close.
Shit! Are you kidding me? Ready to meet your maker.
So, what happened then?
Had to remove more of that damn dynamite.
It must have been terrifying trying to make your way across.
I was sweating it a bit, but then I noticed a footbridge tied up on high, so I shot the rope. Of course, I had to tread carefully. Otherwise, I could, well, die.
Pissing me off!
So that was all the dynamite?
Funny you should mention that, darling. As actually there was a 4th charge impeding my progress. Once I removed it, my path was pretty clear.
Now you're really pissing me off!
So I proceeded onward, and realized that that way just wasn't gonna work. I needed an alternate path forward. Luckily, I found a cave, and as I made my way back to the bridge, I saw something that concerned me. It was a long, burning fuse, and it was moving fast as hell. I had to catch it.
Run!
The burning fuse was so damn quick, I had to run like the wind. I almost had it, but no! Thought I was gonna have a coronary when I lost sight of those sparks. My heart was pounding like a sledgehammer. I knew that failure meant boom. Then, finally, at the last moment. Whew. Of course, I was successful, or clearly I wouldn't be talking to you folks here today. Naturally, I removed the last dynamite charge. Well, it was a touching reunion. But by this time, I was thoroughly exhausted and dragging my ass, as I was not a young man anymore.
Kill that SOB! Make him bleed!
Send him to perdition!
Finally, I found those boys. Or more precisely, they found me.
What the hell is that guy? He's crazier than Kid Curry, asked me!
Nuttier than a damn fruitcake!
Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Kid Curry opened up on me with a goddamn Gatling gun. It was hidden in this tunnel and pretty well shielded.
Sorry, son of a bitch!
Luckily, I had located some dynamite.
You'll ever make.
I still, however, had my work cut out for me.
It's not fair. Damn it, I need some help here. You Come can't on, boys. Take this sumbitch out. Yeah. You call like this, cocksucker. Move it, boys. Stand still so I can kill you.
Well, that is unusual. Now you're in. You ready for a belly?
Had enough? Damn!
Would've caught you, boy!
You know who I am, bastard! Give me a hand here, goddammit!
Eventually, I brought that tunnel down. And that's when I met Kid Curry himself. He had decided to stop pussyfooting around and deal with me personally.
God!
fast as he was. I was just a bit faster. And as he lay wounded, I demanded to know the whereabouts of Roscoe Bob Bryant. He shouted at me. "Is that what this is about? Bob went with Butch and Sundance to South America. You ain't never finding him." Those were his last words.
So, Bob Bryant got away?
I knew I'd never find him in South America.
What about the other killer?
Yeah, you kinda glossed over that one.
Well, I found Jim not long after my showdown with Ringo. At the time, he was riding with the James Younger gang. Did I neglect to mention that?
Jesse James? The greatest outlaw who ever lived?
Jesse and his kin rode with Quantrill when he raided Lawrence, Kansas, and killed near 200 people, boy.
Nothing great about that.
And from there, him and his brother went on to rob banks and trains from Kansas to Missouri.
Which is why there was such a rich bounty on their heads. 40 grand for both of them, dead or alive. That's one hell of a payday. I confronted them as they were robbing a train. Bullets were flying at me from every which way. But I knew I'd have to fight my way forward if I was gonna find this Jim.
Now, wait a second. Now, how'd they stop this train in the first place?
Well, the James boys were experts at this. They hopped a freight train, having heard there was a big payroll in the express safe. So, I hopped the same train. The James Younger gang was decimated after that little fiasco they had in Northfield, Minnesota. So Jesse needed more men and took on the killer I was after, along with a host of others. I was hoping to find my man and put a bullet in his head. Climbing around that train, I must have swallowed 100 damn bugs before I reached
James
that...
Younger gang pulled the first train robbery west of the Mississippi.
Sounds like you hold them in high regard.
Everyone knows they were the most famous outlaw gang ever.
And you took them all on by your lonesome. Again. I'm finding this all a little hard to swallow, friend.
Well, maybe you need to wash it down with some whiskey. By the way, did I mention that that train was flying down those tracks like a bat out of hell? Anyway, excuse me, Ben. Where would I find the gentleman's facilities? Suddenly I have an urgent need to drain my one-eyed snake. Well, I've had more than a few drinks, and I've been sitting here for quite a spell.
Right through there. Let me show you. I've never heard so much malarkey in my life.
You think he's bullshitting us?
You don't think he's Silas Greaves?
I think he's just some old drunk looking for some free liquor.
I don't know, Jack. I think I believe him. You don't think he met Jesse James?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That story makes no sense at all.
Jack.
I mean, you gotta be 2 bricks short of a load to believe that cock and bull story.
I don't agree.
Jack, lay off the
But
bar.
you seriously think that tired old man went toe-to-toe with Jesse James?
Well, that's better. Did I mention that this Jim was married to the infamous Belle
Oh
Starr?
my god.
Of course, I didn't learn that until later. Anyway, I made my way forward the best I could. Around the sides, over the roof. At some point, some sumbitch saw me and shouted out, "It's a damn Pinkertons!"
It's a damn Pinkerton!
Now, I never worked for that lyman cocksucker, but I guess they assumed I was one of his assassins.
Get out here!
Those evil bastards firebombed Jesse's mother's house and killed his stepbrother.
Oh my god, spring te vanaf.
Oh, he's hurt now!
Kill that pissant!
So it's no wonder each and every asshole on that train wanted me dead.
Everybody's always mistaking you for somebody else, aren't they? Why is that, I wonder?
Don't rightly know, Jack. I'm just telling you how I remember it.
I bet you are.
I came across a flat car piled high with logs and had to come up with a creative way to make my way forward.
We've got company!
Right about then, I was attacked by some asshole on a Gatling gun.
Well, seems like you run into a lot of them.
Asshole?
Gatling guns.
Yes, I did. Now, I don't remember how I took it out. It was either a bullet or dynamite.
Where would you find dynamite?
Does it really matter, Jack? You're messing with the flow of the story here.
I shot son of a bitch! God damn, that was loud!
You can't fight James, gang! You don't want to mess with us!
That's right!
I was looking for Jim and shooting any son of a bitch stupid enough to get in my way. And that included Jesse James himself. There sure were a lot of men determined to die that day. It was then that Jesse detached the express car from the rest of the damn train. I could see Jesse waiting for me, fixing to kill me so he could get away with all that money.
You had a showdown with Jesse James?
Of course he didn't. Everybody knows that Jesse was killed by Bob Ford.
Yeah, Jesse went out like John Wesley Hardin. Coward shot him in the back of the head.
Guess it doesn't matter how far you run, does it, Ben? Your past always catches up with you. Yeah, I didn't kill Jesse James. Just wounded him bad enough to convince him to hang up his guns.
What about that Jim fella? What happened to him?
I figure he was up front with a gun to the engineer's head. That bastard slipped away again. I'll tell you how I got him. But first I need to wet my whistle. After my showdown with Jesse, I continued to track his brother, Frank, and that son of a bitch, Jim. I followed those bastards into the high mountains as they were going to ground.
What mountains would that be?
Somewhere in the Ozarks, I believe. A perfect place to hide out from the authorities. In fact, before I could find them, some Indians who fled the Reds and were hiding out from the military found me first. They probably thought I was a cavalry scout and didn't want me telling the military where they were.
Indians?
Yeah, they could have been Cheyenne, but there was all sorts of renegades roaming the landscape back then. Hey, how about another whiskey, Ben? Nothing better to soothe the troubled soul. Now, where was I? Indians, right. I had more than my share of run-ins with the Red Man. Like that time... Did I tell you about Grey Wolf?
Yes, sir. You did.
Ah, of course I did. In fact, I can still remember that old medicine man's words to me.
Jesus Christ, we're back to that again.
You carry great darkness in your heart. It will claim your soul. You will come to this place again and kill many more men, and the darkness will grow until it consumes everything you are.
So, did you ever find him?
Who?
The man you are after.
Let me ask you something, Ben. You ever think about death?
Mr. Graves, are you all right?
Oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over till another year? What is this that I can't see, with ice cold hands taking hold of me? Well, I am death, none can excel. I'll open the door to heaven or hell. Oh, death. Oh, death. Won't you spare me over till another year?
So are you going to answer the question?
What question is that?
Jim Reed. Did you ever find him?
Reed was indeed that son-bitch's surname. That's right, Ben. A despicable character. I remember him laughing like a hyena that cold morning they lynched me and my brothers. He was intent on avoiding my vengeance, but nothing was gonna stop me. Nothing. I finally did track those outlaws down. They had long rifles with scopes and were well positioned to pick off any poor soul who came anywhere close.
What?
I'm guessing Frank James believed I was responsible for the demise of his brother Jesse. I couldn't really disagree with the man, as I thought Jesse was dead then as well. He backed off as I closed in on him, but he was still intent on killing me. And when I closed in on him again, he backed off again, looking for a better angle on me. Hell, I can't fault Frank for wanting his revenge, as I was there for the same damn reason myself.
Isn't that why you were hunting the James gang?
The James gang. Right. I finally found Frank holed up in his mountain cabin, and he was determined to have me dead. It was a pitched battle that could have gone either way.
He's just one man.
Luckily, I had some dynamite in my possession.
I want that bastard
On your
dead.
person.
A few sticks, just in case. It's always good to be prepared.
Right.
I'm just laying out the facts as I remember them, Jack. And that old shack, well, it went tumbling right off that cliff.
With Frank James still in it?
Yes, sir.
But Frank James is still alive, living in Missouri, showing folks around the family farm for 25 cents a tour.
I didn't say he died in the fall, now did I?
I'm done with this damnable outlaw life. Kill me, don't kill me, do what you will. At this point, I just don't give a shit.
I explained to Frank that I had nothing against him personally and that I was looking for someone else.
You want Reed? Have at him. I never did like that bastard. I am done here.
We parted in peace as Frank pointed out the path to my prey before making his way back down the hill.
Incoming fire!
So what happened with Reed?
Well, I finally found the last of the gang hiding in a nearby cave. First, I had to dispatch the lookouts, as I was determined not to let that murderer escape my revenge again.
How can this be?
But rather than wander in willy-nilly, I decided it would be better to smoke that sumbitch out. "Hey, Reed!" I shouted. "No wonder you're so ornery. Can't be easy being married to Belle Starr."
While you're off providing for the family, she's spreading her legs for every Tom, Dick, and Cole Younger. Not an attractive woman exactly, but very friendly. At least she was to me.
Son of a bitch!
It was then that the last bunch of bandits jumped out of hiding.
Why won't this asshole give up? Will someone please kill him? Bullshit!
Eventually, it was just me and Reed. I had waited a long time to face him down, so I could repay him for what he did to my brothers. And repay him I did.
Spare me, oh, do not dare. Geniaal dit spel. So spare me, oh, do not.
Well, I don't know about you boys, but I'm pretty beat.
Well, it's too damn bad you never found that Bob character. Seems a shame he never had to pay.
Well, funny thing about that, I did have one more chance at him. 6 months ago, I heard that Butch and Sundance were back in the States and had gathered up some of their old gang. I tracked them down, hoping that Roscoe Bob Bryant had returned with them.
So you're saying they didn't die down in Bolivia?
That's what I'm saying.
Wacht, ik zeg maar 19 chapters, maar volgens mij zijn er maar 9. The Good, The Bad and The Dead. Dat is de laatste. Wat? Ik dacht dat het er 19 waren. Misschien zijn er maar 7. Zo. Of mijn ogenbrief van mij, maar... Nou. Zo, ik ben klaar. Oké. Voor het einde.
40 years I had waited to get my hands on the last of my brother's killers. Not even an army of demons could have stopped me now. Both Johnny Ringo and Jim Reed fell fairly quickly. But the last one, Roscoe Bob Bryant, that son of a bitch had managed to escape my vengeance time and time again.
Wat is even poep? Oh, auw.
Both Johnny Ringo and Jim Reed fell fairly quickly. But the last one, Roscoe Bob Bryant, that son of a bitch had managed to escape my vengeance time and time again. I couldn't even be certain I'd recognize him after all those years. By now, he had to be close to 70.
For all you know, he could have been dead.
That thought had indeed crossed my mind, as did others. For instance, did my thirst for vengeance turn me into something worse than the man I was after? By this point in my storied career, I had killed more men than Bob Bryant ever had. Nothing could stop me from taking his life.
Again.
I'd been after that killer forever. From the time I rode with Billy the Kid. But that chapter of my story you already know.
Chapter of that fairy tale, you mean?
Suddenly, it was 1910. There I was, an old man roaming a ghost town dead almost 2 decades. But I wasn't about to call it quits. Even though the ghosts of my dead brothers were begging me to end what I started so long ago.
Mr. Graves, are you all right? Would you like some water?
The Wild Bunch knew I was there. They were after a treasure they had hidden before they fled, buried in the grave of a dead amigo.
Val meteen sterven. Wat is dit voor slappe Janus? Echt. Sorry, maar ik moet naar.
Who the hell is that old man?
I intended to fill that grave with Bob Bryant's corpse. But like I said, the bandits knew I was on to them. They lured me in and hit me with everything they had.
That old fart ain't right in the head.
This asshole deserves to die! Where'd you learn that?
Shotgun. Shotgun op dit laagste.
Put a bullet in! Done, bitch!
Over there!
But you obviously prevailed since you're sitting here telling us.
Actually, in that moment, I did not prevail.
So I suppose we're talking to a ghost.
Funny you should put it like that, Jack.
Back off, Grandpa!
Wat gebeurt er?
Because when I woke up...
From the dead?
There was silence all around me. I could swear to God I saw Billy then.
Billy who?
Billy the Kid. William Bonney. He was shooting at me from a rooftop.
Mag ik bewegen?
Here and there. Even over there.
So I am right. You are titched in the head.
Mr. Graves, perhaps we should switch you to coffee?
You see that old Indian again, too?
No, but I did see Billy's killer. Patrick Floyd Garrett. He came at me guns a-blazing. But I knew that old war horse had died 2 years before. I wondered if maybe I was dead too and confronting the ghosts of my past. Perhaps all my sins were coming back to haunt me and drag me down to perdition. I saw Henry Plummer throw dynamite at me. And in the gates of the cemetery, I saw John Wesley Hardin, just like I remembered him. Robert Ollinger appeared with his terrible double-barrel shotgun. But no ghost army was stopping me.
My father-in-law got hit with a fallen branch. He spent the rest of his life talking to dogs.
Newman Hayes Clanton, William Brocious, John Peters Ringo, they all wanted me dead. The Dalton brothers, Robert and Grattan, guardians of the Garden of the Dead. George Curry and Harvey Logan, alias Kid Curry, both thirsty for vengeance from the great beyond. Jesse, Woodson, James, and Jim Reed. Each one deader than the next. I thought I would go crazy.
Thought?
En ik wist ook geen meter waar ze wat ook om ze in de buurt mee hadden.
The Dalton brothers, Robert and Grattan, guardians of the Garden of the Dead. George Curry and Harvey Logan, alias Kid Curry, both thirsty for vengeance from the great beyond. Jesse, Woodson, James, and Jim Reed. Each one deader than the next. Finally, I saw Harry Alonzo Longabaugh.
The Sundance Kid?
Like a general leading his legion of the dead.
You told us before that you'd seen him alive.
He was alive. Then I heard a voice call to me from afar. It was Robert Leroy Parker, a.k.a. Butch Cassidy, coming at me from out of the fog.
Thanks for taking care of that bastard.
Dit is het einde. Althans, nog niet. The good, the bad, and the death.
But the kid wasn't quite deceased. Not yet.
Takes more than one little bullet to kill the likes of me, partner.
Those two looked like they hadn't seen each other for quite a while. Clearly, they were no longer amigos.
Shit. I was hoping I wouldn't have to kill you.
You won't have to, Butch. I'm killing you first.
I asked them about Bob Bryant, but they were too busy with their own heated conversation.
Let me get this shit straight. You want my money and the love of my life?
You frittered it all away, Butch. Edda's mine. And so is that damn money.
I didn't want to shoot anybody until I had an answer to my question, but those boys didn't give me much of a choice.
De moeilijkste battle. Het was speed doen, hè. En dan moet je weg moet je gaan pakken. En nog een helm. Ik ken dit spelletje niet. Oh shit, gedaan. Wow! Moet nog maar. Oh, goed. Maar dat is het grootste ever. Ik zag hem zijn gun pakken en ik kreeg geen min shit. Ik schot sowieso allebei in hun hoofd. Sowieso. Oh, kijk je die killcam terug. Echt. Ik moest ze trouwens allebei neerschieten. Ik zie je links en rechts bovenin. Ik ga gewoon op één focussen. Dus dan schieten we ze allebei elkaar ook neer, oké. Want mensen gaan ze altijd op mij dus. Die muziek op de achtergrond ook, halleluja. Wat? Ik klik nu op Q! Ik heb wel één iemand geraakt. Ik heb sowieso één iemand gehit.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid died there in that cemetery not 6 months ago.
Nou jongens. Ik weet dat we nu nog één ding hebben. En ik ga voor een goed einde. De final. Linksboven in mijn loading. Waarom moet het zo lang laden? I mean, het is letterlijk maar een cutscene en een keuze en dat is. Enter.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid were killed by the Bolivian army. Everybody knows that.
That's the legend, but it ain't the truth.
So, you never found Bob? There is no Bob. This old sumbitch ain't even Silas Greaves.
Sir, is that true? Have you been pulling our legs this whole time?
Well, not the whole time.
Oh man, I think you've worn out your welcome here.
Maybe you're right, Jack. Maybe it's time to pay. You see, Ben, or should I say Bob, your past always catches up with you.
was a different man back then, crazy. Drinking, I changed my ways, I swear to you. If I could turn back the clock,
But you can't, Bob.
Choose your destiny. Revenge, dan schiet je hem neer, leuk, maar ik wil gewoon een goed einde hebben, dus.
Why'd you toy with me like that? Telling those tales, knowing all along. Why not just lay your cards on the table?
Wanted to suss you out, Bob. See what kind of man you turned out to be. Maybe prod you into drawing on me. See, all those years on your trail turned me into a killer. Can't even remember who I was before you tried to murder me. You, on the other hand, walked that very same path in exactly the opposite direction.
What do you mean by that?
You think your life is worth sparing, Bob? Boy, what's your name again?
It's Eisenhower, sir. Dwight Eisenhower.
What do you plan to do with your life, Dwight Eisenhower?
Tomorrow I'll be leaving for West Point, sir.
So, you want to be a soldier? Well, then do it right, son. Don't tear down the world out of anger and spite like I did. You build it up. You do something decent with your life, you hear me?
Sir? Yes, sir.
I won't have it said I left you with nothing, Bob.
Als je hem niet schiet, heb je ook zo'n gevoel. En dan horen we dat prachtige liedje op het einde. Maar ik wil jullie allemaal bedanken voor het kijken naar deze mooie serie. Het is omdat ik het niet wil opnemen per dagen 2 keer. Maar het is omdat het ons te lang duren met renderen en dit. Dat ik aan mijn gezin en dit zijn allemaal mensen die eraan meegedaan hebben. Maar vond je deze serie leuk? Smash dan op het duimpje omhoog. Vergeet ook niet te abonneren. Je zegt wel. En dan zien we jullie de volgende keer, I guess. Want ik ga deze serie nog niet stoppen, denk ik. Want ik heb wel druk op play. Dit. De weuw versie. En ja, ik klik in jouw stadje dat meteen heb ik ook gezien. Dit. En nu het einde van die game. Doei! En later.